Well, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. If you got no place to go, we got some fucking snow. It's New England, man. I'll tell you, we got about 6 inches of snow, and then it let up for about a day, and then we got another 6 inches of snow. So we're buried out here. But you know, you live outside of Boston, that's what happens. We're not here to talk about snow. This is Funny Like Clown podcast, episode 43, December 8th, 2019, and we are here to talk about comedy. As always, Funny the Clown Podcast is brought to you by G Vegas Buffalo Sauce. You want homemade, you want fresh, you want to spend local, you want to go green, go to www.gvegas.webs.com and check out this buffalo sauce. You got to get some. It will brighten up your chicken wings for sure. All right, we are here to discuss comedian Doug Stanhope, a very interesting guy. And to do that, I have on the phone another interesting guy, Kenny Capozzi. Welcome to the show, Kenny.
Hey, Dennis, thanks for having me, buddy.
Thanks for being on, man. And I asked you what comedian you wanted to review. You chose Doug Stanhope. What made you choose him?
He's, I don't even think he's, that funny. I just think he's that interesting with the shit that he says, and he makes you think. You know what I mean? Like, he's not, jokey, haha, but he cracks me up, you know? I don't know.
You gotta have a special taste. He's got, a dark sense of humor, which, I mean, one of my guys I love, Sam Kinison, who he had a dark...
It's definitely an acquired taste if you like stand-up, but I think stand-up's he has a fan base. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, sure. There's a fan base for dark comedy. Some people like that sort of stuff. I mean, us, we're both comedians, and we know it don't get you booked as much, you know? You get booked a lot more if you work clean, but...
100%.
If you're not a fan of that material, then, what does it matter if you're getting booked doing, something you don't love to do, you know?
Right. Well, I mean, I don't know. There's definitely safe to something working clean. You'll work more, you know what I'm saying? But it's almost like two different things. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if you're going to really, be a good, clean comedian, you got to work at being a good, clean... It's like, I would feel like it would be hard to have two separate acts. You know
I wouldn't enjoy it. If I had to work totally clean, I wouldn't even enjoy doing comedy. So it wouldn't matter if I work more because I wouldn't enjoy what I'm doing, you know?
Right. Yeah, you're pretty dirty, Dennis. You know what I mean?
I'm not so much filthy, but my subject matters, they're kind of offensive to some. Right. Everybody's offended by something nowadays, but...
I try to make my subject matter, I try to make them, question in their sensibility. Do you know what I mean? But I try to get them to laugh at it, but sometimes it's harder. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
The material, because they're they're not sure if they're ready for it.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that, change the subject type of thing, right? But here's one thing I didn't know about Doug Stanhope. He was actually born in Worcester, Massachusetts. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea he was born there. I mean, we're a couple of Boston guys in Worcester. I'm about 20 minutes from Worcester, a little town, Gardner, outside of Boston. But, do you think that's cool, hitting some of the same stages as, Dane Cook and Doug Stanhope? I mean... Well, we're performing on some of the same stages here in Mass that they came up on. Do you think that's cool? You ever think about that?
Oh, yeah, all the time. Anytime I get to do Nixon shit, I'm fucking, this is where it started.
That's where they came from right there, man, yeah.
Right. To be on the same stage, it's fucking great.
Yeah, I mean, you can almost say.
It's fun. But then, I don't know, you do it, and it's just sometimes it goes good, and sometimes it goes bad. That's just part of it.
That's half the fun. If it was the same night every night, you were going to get bored doing it. You never know what's going to happen. That's half the fun of it,
Oh, that's for sure. It's a fucking rush.
So let's see, Doug Stanhope, his mother was an alcoholic, and she moved him from Worcester to Florida when she quit drinking. She had a chronic disease, and in 2008, she asked Doug to help her in an assisted suicide with prescription morphine and alcohol.
Yeah, he wrote a book about it.
Yeah, I mean, what would you think if your mom asked you to assist her in a suicide? What would be the first thought went through you? What's that?
I'd help her out. It was pretty cool what they did. They had, they were all at the house having a good time. You know what I mean? It was her time to go. They said bye and fucking see you later. She was in pain. She was suffering.
Yeah, you don't want to see your mom suffer, yeah. But I mean, that's got to be a hard thing to do, to help your mom kill herself, whether it's
I don't think so, man.
Justified reasons.
It's hard, but
yeah, you don't want to.
I wouldn't have any moral dilemma.
No,
you know
right.
what I mean? I think it would be immoral to not do that.
To not help her. That's a good point. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I do, but we have laws against that shit. You know what I mean? And I think that's crazy.
Yeah, there was one doctor, I forget his name there, and he was doing them regular, and they had to start passing laws because he was just doing it so often. Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Kevorkian.
Kevorkian, that was his name. Yeah, he actually, he broke it out into the forefront where everybody was talking about it, and He ended up in jail, I believe, didn't he?
I believe some states it's legal, but not all of them. I'm pretty sure it's not legal.
Yeah, because I think he said he was going to keep doing it even if they passed the law, or he'd do it if they put him in jail. I think he ended up, I don't know if he ever got out or not, but I think he ended up in jail. But
Right. I forget. But yeah, I think he did do some time over the situation.
So let's see, Doug quit school.
That's like something like Stanhope is like he takes all those type of like stances on things. That's why I just like I like what he talks about.
And he talks about it, yeah. Most people wouldn't want to talk about, helping their mother with assisted suicide. He had no problem. That's his life. He didn't have no problem talking about it. I mean,
yeah, he wrote a whole book about it.
Yeah, I get in trouble for some of that too. My views on child support. Not everybody's got the same view, but it's my life. I talk about it. I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. I mean, I'm trying to help out. They don't see that, then whatever. But
I mean, yeah, you got to look at it like, I mean, how many other people were in that position or now would be able to deal with that position better now that they see somebody else has gone through it too.
That's an old saying. Don't judge a man till you walk the mile in his shoes, right?
Definitely.
All right, so let's see. Doug Stanhope, he quit school at 15. When he was young, his teacher used to send letters home to his mother complaining that he drew graphic and adult pictures during school. Do you think that's a norm? I mean, do you think most comics got a dark past and that's how they deal with it through comedy? It seems to be a common thing, no?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's like that for every comic. I mean, there's so many comics. I don't think that. But
Not all, but it's common. I mean, for sure, it's common.
I don't know. I think you have to, especially like where we live and shit. It's it's like it's so hard. I think that you have to find some humor and just take those little breaks, like where you can actually laugh. You know what I mean? Because it's so shitty. That's like how I
find something to laugh about in life, right? You go to comedy to make up for the laughter that's missing in your life. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, I had an abusive father I grew up with. You weren't allowed to be happy. It pissed him off, and it's like later in my life, I'm making up, I want twice as much laughter now to make up for what I missed out on as a kid,
Right.
Let's see, he puts down his influences as Monty Python and National Lampoon. Who influenced you to want to do comedy?
Who influenced? He's one of them. Colin Quinn, Draldo, fucking Burr, CK, all these people. I mean, I've had like Delirious and Raw when I was a kid on fucking VHS,
Right.
But, it didn't dawn on me till later.
Till later on, some of the later comics?
Yeah, I was doing like fucking, I don't know, I had a band that I was doing spoken word, and then I was like, oh, yeah, I thought about doing comedy back when I seen like Colin Quinn's fucking 8 Ball special jacket.
Right.
And, didn't think about like writing comedically.
Just get over that fear of trying. And then once you try it, it's like addictive, isn't it? You can't wait to get back up there. So it's like so fearful to try, but once you do.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you got a good joke. You're like, I gotta go. I want to see if this is gonna work.
Can't wait to get on stage to tell it, right? Yeah.
With the fucking magic trick.
All right, let's see. After he helped his mom with assisted suicide, he moved back to Worcester for a while. Then he went to L.A., then he went to Las Vegas, and now he resides in Arizona.
Yeah, he didn't start comedy until like Vegas somewhere, and then he went somewhere. He got like a paying gig like right off the bat. They were like letting him stay at like a hotel and do like MCing for like $1.50 a week or something with fucking a room.
Yeah, he said he started at 23. He did an open mic in Vegas. And that landed in an MC. He was the house comic at a gig in Phoenix. So, yeah, I mean, not many people get to be a house comic to start,
It was like right off the bat,
Yeah.
So it was like already able to fucking like kind of live off comedy,
So how old were you when you started comedy?
It wasn't no fucking lavish, lifestyle back then. And she was brutal, but it was still, he was able to do that. Get up every night. Like, getting up is a big thing. Like, that's the only way you can fucking get better.
Yeah, and get paid to do it, too, Most comics don't get paid right off the bat. He's a house comic. He's getting paid to do what he does right off the bat,
Yeah, I just probably horrible.
Probably.
Could you imagine what early Stanhope must have been like before he started again?
Yeah, right. The raw Stanhope as compared to now. But he was 23 when he began. How old were you when you began stand-up comedy?
Like 35.
Yeah, I was like 38 when I started, and Ralphie Joyle, I think you know him too. He made a good point. It's like, most of these TV shows, they're looking for the next young up-and-coming kid. So even if we're funnier at our age, they're not looking at a tough gig at our age.
You gotta be funnier. You gotta be funnier. You're right. But you gotta be funny. Funny fucking trumps everything. If you are funny, like, we could be funny, but we're not, like, funny.
If it's close, though, they're going to go with the young kid, because he's the future of comedy. They don't want the old guy, It's not the drill.
If you're funny, I understand what you're saying, but that's not, like, You know what I mean?
Oh, it's not the be-all and end-all, no. I mean, Lewis Black, he was in his 50s before he made it big, so it's possible, yeah.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. I mean, look at fucking Dangerfield. How old was he when he fucking broke?
Oh, yeah. He was 50s or something, man. He was big. I mean, he was, semi-big before that, before he was huge, though, but,
He didn't even write his own shit, I heard that. He had, like, a fucking writer. Not that, like,
Well, most of the big ones do. All the late-night shows, they got writers. You couldn't possibly... You're performing every night. You can't think of that many jokes. It's impossible,
Right. How many jokes they just throw away?
Yeah. Let's see. He was a regular at the Comedy Store and the Improv in Hollywood. Those were two of the biggest clubs at the time. When he was in San Francisco, he won a 3-week international comedy competition against Dane Cook. Now, those are two Massachusetts guys right there.
Like, fucking psych him out, dude. Dan Cook's manager came up to him before, like, he was going on. He's like, oh, I'm not going to get it. You're not going to win this, fucking blah, blah, blah.
Really?
Like, getting his brain before he got on stage, and he still killed and beat Dan Cook. I thought he was talking about, like, dildos, like, I don't know, some fucking crap.
Yeah, I mean, San Francisco, that's a mecca of comedy, so I guess they know how to take a joke out there for sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Plus, this was, like, the fucking 90s, too.
Yeah, you could say anything back then. I know it's not like today. Why do you think everybody's offended by everything nowadays?
You can still say anything now. You just have to be funny.
Yeah, but people are getting offended so much more now. It's like, man, no matter what you say, they're offended by something.
You'll still offend them, but you'll also have, if it's funny, like if it's not just, I mean, everything's going to offend somebody. But if it's funny, you're going to have all the other people go, yeah, that's a joke. That's funny. Right. You know what I mean? Whereas, like, yeah, some people are going to get offended. But it's like, what do you want me to fucking write jokes about?
Yeah, nothing, right? There's no subject you can. That's it. I mean, there's nothing you can touch. That's you got to do something, right? Well,
this is how I talk. This is how I am. This is what I write jokes about. I'm a fucking offended that you people don't like my fucking what I'm trying to say.
I know. Yeah, I get offended. They're offended. Right? I know what you're saying. Right.
You know what I mean? Because I'm not being offensive. Like I'm not intentionally trying to hurt you. Right. You know what I mean? I'm intentionally trying to make you laugh. That's it. I'm intentionally trying to make you laugh. If I don't land it, that's my fault, but maybe you're just a cunt too. I don't know.
I grew up in the 80s. You could talk about somebody's mother and you wouldn't get offended. You know it was a joke, I mean, talk about somebody's mother now, they lose their mind, It's like back then it was how you showed love for each other, You broke each other's balls, I mean...
Oh, no, I mean, there's still a lot of that on.
Well, between friends, but not so much on stage anymore,
I mean, when do you have the opportunity to do that? Unless someone's heckling you. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I've seen people lay into hecklers,
Yeah, you gotta, right? Yeah.
But they should have just shut their fucking mouth.
Yeah, there you go. Well, it leads me into my next comment. Doug Stanhope, after the September 11th attacks, he got picketed and he actually got attacked on stage a few times for telling jokes about the September 11th attacks. Now, do you think there's a certain amount of time you should wait before something like that, or do you think anything's up for grabs, you can joke about anything?
I think anything is up for grabs and you can joke about anything. But you have to understand, if you're doing sensitive material like that, it has to be, it should be fucking good.
It's got to be worded correctly, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, in the closer it is to the event, the more better.
Yeah, I mean, if you're telling jokes on September 12th about the September 11th attack, you're doing some pretty risky stuff right there, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, it depends on which avenue you take joking about it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I guess overall at that point.
But yeah, but even though like the Late Show and the Tonight Show, I mean, they're expected to joke about that stuff. That's what you're tuning in for. I mean, that's their job. That's what's going on. They're expected to.
I highly doubt they were doing that.
Yeah, make jokes of it.
You know what I mean? They're fucking not retarded.
Right. Now, I don't remember this one. Maybe you do. In 1999, he came out with a TV show called Invasion of the Hidden Cameras. It was kind of the candy camera of its time, and
yeah, I don't remember that. I remember this fucking short stint on the Man Show after fucking what's it called? Adam Carolla.
Yeah, 2003. He hosted the 5th and 6th season of the Man Show. That was after Jimmy Kimmel and Adam Carolla did it. Jimmy Kimmel got the late night gig, so he moved on. And then it was him, Doug Stanhope, and Joe Rogan did it for 2 seasons. And some of the stints he did on the Man Show, which I love that show. I watched it like the whole time. One of the skits was...
It was brutal when they had it, though. It was funny at first, but when they took it over, it just went, fucking haywire.
Yeah, it was, could Doug Stanhope go 5 rounds in a boxing ring with Tanya Harding was one of the skits. Another one of the skits was Doug Stanhope had moms reviewing porno. So I mean, they took it to a different level. It was more raunchy, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it didn't last. They were like,
Did you watch the show, or did you? I mean.
Yeah. I remember when they did it, but I was like, I remember, I watched the earlier one with Corolla and fucking Kimmel,
Yeah.
And then when I think by the time they took over, I was like, Harvey watching it, Rogan and Stanhope.
Yeah.
It was different.
I thought, yeah, Jimmy Kimmel and Ada Carolla was more improvised, where it was so scripted. They wouldn't let Joe Rogan and Doug Stanhope do anything. Everything was like according to the script, They wouldn't just shoot the shit anymore. I thought that was the downfall of the show, let them be them, but everything was scripted,
Right.
So, 2005, he started hosting a show on Sirius Radio. He also hosted Girls Gone Wild, and he was in the movie The Aristocrats. What do you remember about any of that?
I fucking forget his bit in The Aristocrats, but that was pretty good, dude.
They all told jokes,
Ta-da! You know what I mean? They called it The Aristocrats.
I remember Girls Gone Wild was like the thing of the day back in the 90s there.
Okay, but I never watched I never bought one to watch Stanhope fucking.
Well, yeah, commentate the thing, right? But I mean, it was a girl who sued him because Yeah, the girl sued Girls Gone Wild for something she did, and then a judge passed a law. If you did it in public, then they can there was no law against them filming you, so that opened the door where Girls Gone Wild just went huge.
Yeah, that dude was I forget the dude that the guy made a ton of money though.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. He created a group of comedians called the Unbookables, and he had a history of being banned for vulgar material.
Did you see that? They're fucking messing.
But I mean, well, let's plug. You got a podcast you're a part of. Go ahead and plug your podcast now. What's the name of it?
In the Gutter.
In the Gutter. Where can it be heard?
We run an open mic in Boston every Monday and Wednesday. Monday nights at 10, Wednesday nights at 8 at the same place, the Anton at 31 India Street.
Okay.
Downtown Boston.
And where can they hear your podcast at?
Any place you get podcasts, usually. In the
Gutter. Now, I've been on there, and you guys are pretty much, you take the raunchy stance, too, where you talk about anything, right?
Yeah, we don't censor ourselves.
Right, so you're kind of like this group that Doug Stanhope put together, the Unbookables. They were unbookable because all their subjects were, offensive, and that was the stance. Yeah, I know, I mean, but you don't get booked as much as Working Clean. When Stanhope was in Ireland, he got booked to do a series of shows. He was 10 minutes into the first show, and he started talking about everybody in Ireland, all the men were pedophiles because the women in Ireland were so ugly. They booted him off 10 minutes into the show and canceled the rest of his shows. I mean...
That's sensitive.
So, yeah, I guess. So they couldn't take the joke, I guess. Well, why would they book the guy, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. 2010, he released a CD called Burning the Bridge to Nowhere. I mean, do you have a favorite routine of his or a favorite, what's your favorite thing he's done?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I like all this. I'd probably, you gotta tying up your ass pussy. Shit pussy.
He had one I heard back when I was doing internet radio. I played it. It was where him and his friend picked up a transvestite hooker. But he was so cheap. And just the story where it was like she tried to steal his wallet, and then he kicked her and she got pissed.
He's just telling you what happened.
But he told the story. I love, they say the real life stuff's so much funnier, It was like such a funny story.
Yeah, that was fucking hilarious.
You can picture it happen. Then his buddy wouldn't back him up when the hooker was beating him up and shit. It's like, where's my backup? Let's see. 2011, he appeared on an episode of Louis C.K.'s show, Louis, on, Spike TV, I think.
FX, I think it was.
FX, was it? Okay. You think Louis had to masturbate in front of him or anything to get that gig or no?
I think probably Doug was just jerking off anyway.
Who knows what Louis is doing over there, right? But that's his personal business. Do what you do, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think he's funny as hell, so I don't know.
All right, let's see. 2012, he put out a special called Before Turning the Gun on Himself. Now, do you think that was a reference to... He said it was a reference to that it was so used in the news, that term was so used in the news, but...
I thought he was talking about Hitler.
Oh, I thought he was talking about his mother, before turning the gun on himself, talking about suicide or whatever, but who knows what it was actually. Now, in 2013, he debuted his own podcast, the Doug Stanhope podcast. Why do you think podcasts are so big in comedy? Now, everybody's got one nowadays. What do you think that is?
I think it just helps. You know what I mean? Like building up a rapport, trying to just get your people to know you. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that's where the younger generation's going. I think TV's on its way out, and I mean, everything's going toward the internet.
But look what just happened with Shane Gillis. I mean, he got Saturday Night Live, and then he lost it because of the shit he said on his podcast.
His podcast, yeah. But I think, a lot of these kids, you can listen to a podcast while you're surfing the internet and doing other stuff. It don't take, like TV,
oh, yeah,
you have to give it your full attention.
I listen at night, dude. I'd rather, like, fucking lay down and listen to a podcast than, like, sit on my couch and watch television.
Watch TV, yeah. It's becoming an easy, you can multitask, I guess.
Yeah, I use it as, like, fucking white noise sometimes. I just fall asleep with that on. Yeah, but I listen to it in my car. I like podcasts.
Let's see.
It's cool, man.
2014, he announced on the Howard Stern show that he was working on a project with Johnny Depp. Do you know if he ever came out with anything with Johnny Depp or not? Or?
No, I know they hang out sometimes.
Yeah, they're good friends. I knew that, yeah. I know Johnny Depp's ex-wife sued Doug Stanhope for some of the comments he made on his podcast about how she was trying to screw Johnny in their divorce settlement. I guess part of the settlement, she had to drop the charges against him.
I don't really remember. I don't know. But she seemed like a feisty one, that lady.
Sure, they all are when you get divorced, but... Let's see, in 2014, he had a supporting role as a cop in Chris Rock's movie Top 5. So, he was a guest on the show Bar Rescue, where he went in and did some restaurants with John Tafford there at Bar Rescue. Now, he's done, he's stayed in the eye, but it's always been smaller stuff. He's never had that really big role, but he's been in enough small stuff where, he's known.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he doesn't act that much. Like, it's probably one of his best things was that role he did in Louis. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was like almost like himself, It was great seeing.
Huh.
Couple scenes.
2016, he put out a book called Digging Up Mother, a Love Story.
Yeah, that was the one you talked about killing.
All right, and 2015, he put out a comedy special, No Place Like Home. 2017, he put out his third book, This Is Not Fame. Have you read his books or no?
Yeah, I read that one. This Is Not Fame. The mother one, I forget. I think I read the mother one. I'm not positive, but I know I read This Is Not Fame.
Okay, so was he deep and dark about how he helped his mother with suicide, or was he more just say this is what happened?
No, he's very poetic. He's very well written. You know what I mean? Like he takes time. The way he writes
so he's educated about it, not ignorant. Okay.
It's like that in his comedy. When you listen to him, he's the way he's able to express himself is fucking unreal.
Right.
The way he talks about it. But he knows. For somebody that dropped out of school at 15, he's fucking very smart.
All right, so he's a self-proclaimed drunk. He says he hasn't been sober on stage since 2003. So is he kind of the Dean Martin of our time? Why do you think alcohol and drugs are so rampant in comedy?
I don't know. It's a fun time.
Hey, you having fun doing comedy? Let the party keep going, right? Why not? But,
I feel like it's almost better to be... Not that it's... Like, I am always fucked up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm on stage like that most of the time the same way. You know what I mean? I'm usually have a few drinks before I'm on stage.
But does that put you in a funnier mood?
What?
Does it put you in a funnier mood being fucked up?
I don't know. I mean, like smoking weed and feel like that. But something. I don't know. I just feel like I operate like that anyway.
All right, so that's you being you, right?
I feel like it's a hindrance and way to getting booked sometimes because there's like a lot of comedians that are sober. A lot of the bookers are sober.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like respect like that, like, hey, well, you're not drunk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But whereas like Stanhope, he's always been like that, but it's just like, I'm not fucking Stanhope either. You know what I mean?
That's who he is. He's not changing for nobody. That's who he's made a go of it. So that's who you are. That's who you are, I guess, right?
I don't know.
All right, we end off every show. We end off with trivia. So I'm going to ask you 3 trivia questions about Doug Stanhope. I'll say nobody's ever gone 3 for 3 on Funny Like Calm podcast. A couple people have gotten 2 right. Most get 1 or none right, but it's informative. So I'm going to ask you 3 trivia questions. You ready?
Okay.
All right, Doug Stanhope is a political activist. What did he once do jokingly in the political world that gained national attention?
So he was going to run?
Run for what?
For president, I think, dude.
That's right, he did. He once ran for president, just as a joke, and I don't think it's the first time. Pauly Shore did it. I think a few people, Ron White did it, and a lot of comedians, just as a joke, run for president, not expecting to win, but...
Right.
I wonder how many votes he get. All right, you're 1 for 1. That's pretty good. All right, he's put out 3 books. We already talked about the title of the 2 books. What was the title of his 3rd book?
The 3rd Doug Stanhope book?
We talked about the 2nd and 3rd book that he put out. What was the name of the first one he put out? He's put out a total of 3. We talked about 2.
I thought the first one was Digging Up Mother.
No.
No.
It was called Fun with Pedophiles, The Best of Baiting.
Did that come on first?
That's what it was. That's what it said on the internet. Yeah, that was the first one. Then the second one was the mother one, and the third one was This ain't a good time, or what we just said? What? This is not fame. That was the other one. Yeah. So, but that's his 3 books. I guess you got to look them up. All right. So this is the 3rd trivia question. In 2011, he played a comedy show in Iceland. What venue did he perform the comedy show at?
That was a prison.
It was the only maximum security prison in Iceland. He decided to perform. Would you perform a comedy show at a maximum security prison?
Yeah.
You would, yeah, because I know you got to sign waivers when you go in there. Like if any prisoner attacks you, you're not going to hold the prison responsible. That you're understanding.
Yeah, if you gotta go visit somebody, I mean, what's the difference? I mean, it's a little different, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're behind glass or you're one-on-one. I mean, this is like a group of people in a hall that could easily attack you, so you got to keep them pretty damn funny. If you bomb, man, you're asking for trouble, ain't you?
No, I wouldn't worry about it. I don't know.
All right, Kenny, I want to thank you for being on Funny Like a Clown podcast. Before you go, I'll give you the stage. Being a fan of Doug Stanhope, what would you want other fans to know about him?
Just to fucking go check him out. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, it's an acquired taste, but it's fucking top notch. You know what I mean? It's top shelf comedy right there.
Sure, if you like dark humor, he's at the top of the game of what he does, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, I hope to see you on the comedy scene here soon, man. Take care, and thanks again for being on the show, bud.
Hell yeah, Dennis. Thank you, man.
All right, have a good night. Bye-bye.
You too, buddy.
All right, comedian Kenny Capozzi right there on Doug Stanhope, and in a day and age where everybody's offended by everything, he's really doing something different. He's doing some dark humor, and he's sticking to his guns. And I'm a fan of Sam Kinnison's, and they told him the same thing in the 80s. Hey, Sam, you're going to work a lot more. You're going to make a lot more money if you go clean, and he's like, that's not who I am. I'm a dirty comic, and that's what I'm going to do because that's what I love to do. Didn't take no shit. I think Sally Marr, Lenny Bruce's mother, said, don't take shit from anybody. You keep doing what you do. And he ended up one of the biggest comedians of all time because he didn't sell out. Don't sell out in life. Stick to what you want to do. Don't ever be a sellout. That's your advice for this episode. And keep laughing. Until next time, I'm Dennis Wirth, Funny Like a Clown Podcast. Don't sell out. Bye.